Welcome to 10.4, the hyperbola. In this section, we will analyze hyperbolas with center at origin, find the asymptotes, analyze the center at HK. So again, we're looking at when are they focused around the origin and when are they focused around any other point. And then solve applied problems involving hyperbolas. Over here we have our diagrams. One of them is representative of x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared. The other is y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared. And we can see subtle differences are that we have our focus here. This is the a values. We can see that the hyperbola itself is going this way. And then when we have y squared over a squared, it's here with our c values in place. Or no, I'm sorry, I focused on the wrong point. Our a values being, instead of in the x coordinates, it's the y coordinates. Some other areas that I would like you to take note of is that we have asymptotes. Asymptotes are lines, invisible lines that our graph will never cross. And we can see that happening whether it is a vertex on the x-axis or a vertex on the y-axis. It is still, both options have these asymptotes. And we're going to be finding them. So, first let's start with finding the equation of the hyperbola being described. If we're at center 0, 0, our focus 0, 8, and our vertex 0, 2. Some of our important values are right here, our 8, it tells us the C value, and our vertex 2 tells us the A value. Now, since we have our center at 0, 0, our focus at 0, 8, our vertex at 0, 2, we can see that it's really focusing on x value of 0. That tells us that our general equation is going to be y squared over 4 minus x squared over 60. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I jumped way too far ahead. Y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. Oh my goodness, I jumped ahead. Okay, our general form of our equation. What do we need? We need a squared and b squared. We have a. So that's a 2. So we have y squared over 4 minus x squared over b squared. We have a, we have c, so let's find b. B squared is c squared minus a squared, which is 8 squared minus 2 squared. 64 minus 4 is 60. And that's what we want. We want b squared, so that's 60. And that is our equation. Okay, now we have foci at 0 and positive negative 25, vertex at 0, 24. So this tells us the value of C, and 24 tells us the value of A. And again, we're moving along the 0 for all of these values, 0 and the x. So our general equation, y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. We have a and c, so let's find b. b squared equals c squared minus a squared, which is 25 squared minus 24 squared, which is going to give us 49. If you throw that through your calculator, it'll be a big number minus another big number, and it'll come out to 49, which is cool. B squared equals 49. So we have a squared, which is 24 squared. So y squared over 576 minus x squared, b squared was 49, equals 1. And there we go. Okay, so we have focus points at positive -6, 0, and an asymptote at y equals -x. This tells us our c value. And since it's going along the y of 0 now, we are going to use our general equation of x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. And I'm going to use this information, that an asymptote at y equals -x, because I know that asymptote are y equals b over a times x, and y equals -b over a times x. And why is this important? Well, if y equals -x, that means that a and b must equal each other in order for it to be just 1x. So if a and b equal each other, and I know c already, I can use that in b squared equals c squared minus a squared. How do we use it? Well, I'm going to rearrange it because I want a and b, but I know c. So I'm going to pull c out, moving things around. If I add a to both sides, I get c squared equals a squared plus b squared, which we already knew way back from geometry. But since a and b are equal, I can write this as c squared equals a squared plus a squared, because a and b are the same number. And c squared is just 6 squared, because we already knew c. So we have 2a squared equals 6 squared. So 36 equals 2a squared. If I divide everything by 2, I get a squared equals 18. And since a and b are the same, this is also b squared. So that's cool because that's what we wanted. We wanted a squared and b squared, and we got both of them in one. So x squared over 18 minus y squared over 18 equals 1. And that's our equation. Okay, now we're going to find all the characteristics. Find the center, transverse axes, vertices, foci, and asymptotes. Y squared over 81 minus x squared over 16 equals 1. What do we know? Well, we know that this is a squared, and we know that this is b squared. And if we wanted to, we could even get c. So if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, 81 plus 16 is 97. So let's use that. Our center, based on our formula here, is at the origin. Our transverse axes is the y-axis. Vertices we know are 0 and plus or minus a. And a is the square root of 81. So the vertices are at 0 and plus or minus 9. Our focus points, our foci are 0 and plus or minus c. And c squared is 97. So c is the square root of 97. So we have 0 and plus or minus root 97. And our asymptotes are y equals plus or minus a over b times x. And a is 9. And b is the square root of 16, so b is 4 times x. And we have both positive and negative versions. Because remember, we have those asymptotes that go both ways. And that is everything. That's all the pieces. That's everything they wanted. Most of these things, all of these things can be found using the very, very helpful tables, those reference tables in your text. Okay. 9x squared minus y squared equals 81. Well, let's rewrite this. If we divide everybody by 81, then we'll get x squared over 9 minus y squared over 81 equal 1. So this is a squared, this is b squared. So let's pull off to the side, I suppose, and do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We have 9 plus 81, which is 90. So c is radical 90, which we can reduce to 3 root 10. All right, center. Based off of this formula, it's at 0, 0. Our transverse axes is the x-axis. Vertices. The vertices are plus or minus a and 0, which would give us a is 3, so positive 3, 0, and negative 3, 0 are our vertices. Focus points, plus or minus c, comma 0. C was 3 root 10, so one of them will be at positive 3 root 10, one of them will be at negative 3 root 10. And our asymptotes y equals plus or minus b over a times x, which would give us a b. B is 81. No, b is 9. A is 3. So this tells us y is plus or minus 3x. So those are the two asymptotes, 3x and negative 3x. Okay, find an equation for this hyperbola. The center is 4, -2. The focus is 9, -2. The vertex is 6, -2. So we have, first of all, I'm going to note they all lie on the line y equals -2, which tells me the transverse axis is parallel to the x-axis. So I'm also going to label, I used orange already, but we have H, K at our center. This is K and this is K. Now our focus is H plus or minus C, and our vertex is H plus or minus A. So depending on what these values are, is going to help us find C and help us find A. So we're going to use that 6 and we're going to use that 9. Now, since we know that the transverse axis is parallel to the x-axis, our general equation is x minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. So let's find these a and b and c, so that way we can fill in some of our unknowns. So we have h plus a equals 6. H we know is 4. 4 plus a equals 6. So a equals 2. So that's good. And then h plus c equals 9. And h is still 4. So 4 plus c equals 9. C is 5. And then using our same formula, b squared equals 25 minus 4, which is 21. So we should have all the information we need. X minus h, so x minus 4 squared. A squared is 2 squared, so that's 4. Minus y minus k squared, so k is -2, so y plus 2 squared. And b squared is 21 equals 1. And that's our equation. Next, our foci are 4, 10, and 10, 10, and our vertex is 9, 10. So the foci tell us that this is K, and this is H plus or minus C. So this one must be H plus C, and this one must be H minus C. Then our vertex tells us this is K, and this is H plus or minus A. Okay, so all of our y values are 10, 10, 10. So that is giving us a clue that our transverse axis is parallel to the x-axis, which is using the general equation x minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. If we have h plus c equals 10 and h minus c equals 4, and we add these two things together, we get 2h equals 14. So h equals 7. And if h equals 7, 7 plus c equals 10. So c equals 3. And we can double check that here. 7 minus c equals 4. It's still 3, so that's great. And then if we check our h plus a, so we have h, we have c. If h plus a equals 9, and h is 7, 7 plus a equals 9, then a equals 2. All we're missing is b. B squared equals 9 minus 4, which is 5. So let's fill it in. X minus 7 squared over 4 minus y minus 10 squared over 5 equals 1. Now we'll find the characteristics, the center, the transverse axes, the vertices, the foci, the asymptotes, everything. So we have y plus 4 squared over 36 minus x minus 3 squared over 4 equals 1. Some of the important things we can pull out are that k is negative 4, h is 3, a is 6, b is 2, and since a squared plus b squared equals c squared equals 40, which leads us to c being root 40, which reduces to 2 root 10. So using these pieces of information, let's find center, which is hk 3, negative 4. Our transverse axes is the y-axis. Vertices are 3, 2, and 3, negative 10. Because we have k plus a, k minus a. Our foci are 3, and then negative 4 plus or minus that 2 root 10. So one of them is negative 4 plus 2 root 10, and one of them is negative 4 minus 2 root 10. The asymptotes are going to be y plus 4 plus or minus 3 times x minus 3. So y plus 4 equals 3x minus 3. Y plus 4 equals negative 3x minus 3. Those are both of the asymptotes. All right, let's find all of the characteristics of this guy. So the first thing we need to do is rewrite it into the form we're familiar with. I'm going to add the 25 over x squared minus, actually going to put the 4x by the x squared minus y squared minus 10y equals 25. And then I'm going to put them together in parentheses. That way I can complete the square for each of them. So if I complete the square, x squared minus 4x, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. So we have x squared minus 4x plus 4. And we gotta add 4 over there. Minus, we have y squared minus 10y. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 5 squared is 25. So we add that as well. So we have 25. Oh, and it's minus. We have this minus here. So this is minus 25. So we have 25 minus 25 plus 4. This gives us 4. So x squared minus 4x plus 4. We factor that to x minus 2 squared minus y plus 5 squared equals 4. If we divide everybody by 4, we get x minus 2 squared over 4 minus y plus 5 squared over 4 equals 1. And now we're in a familiar form. But wait, there's more. Let's find all of our values so we can find all of the characteristics. So h is 2, k is negative 5, a is 2, and b is also 2. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So that tells us c squared equals 8, which means that c is the square root of 8, which we can write as 2 root 2. Okay, that's really going to help us out. So our center is hk, so 2, negative 5. Our transverse axis is the x-axis. The vertices are 4, negative 5, and 0, negative 5. The foci are 2 plus or minus 2 root 2 and that negative 5. And our asymptotes are going to be y plus 5 equals plus or minus x minus 2. And that is all for today.